Hey everyone, welcome back to DemDMs. My name is Fox Ghost,
I'm Panda Ghost.
And I'm Matt.
and today our Fixing 5e video will be on Rangers. So if everyone's ready, let's slide on in. Alright guys, so let's take it from the top. What are our biggest issues with the current Ranger?
Well, I think it's important to note that we're going to mainly be talking about the information housed within the player's handbook here. We're not going to go into too much outside of that. Obviously, we might talk about the alternative rules in Natasha's book, but we're not going to be going through each and every subclass. We're mostly going to be focusing on the core ranger as well as the two subclasses presented in the player's handbook. Also, be sure to look down in the description of this video for a link to our PDF version of everything that we're going to be talking about in this and kind of like a finalized proposal for our fixed Ranger for 5th edition. But yeah, let's get into it. Starting off, first place that I want to go to, I think, is the favored enemy.
Yeah.
Which is probably the biggest letdown of the Ranger class.
Right.
So good place to start.
It's a joke.
Is,
What you get from is just a joke.
Yeah, I mean, for those who are, have only ever played 5th edition, in previous editions, your favorite enemy was something that you chose at different levels, but then you got some benefit to your character in combat, whether that was a flat bonus to damage or if it was, some other, die roll or something. Currently, the way that it sits is that all it does is help you outside of combat to kind of know more about the enemy that you're fighting, right?
And I think to track it as well, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Which, again,
Yay.
everyone's getting, at the level that the Ranger is getting favorite enemy, everyone else is getting something that helps them do things with their class, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that is most noticeable is that, for a lot of the other classes, they have that one kind of core ability that makes up the core mechanic of their class, right? For obviously for rogues, that would be sneak attack, paladins, divine smite, barbarians, rage, right? And this is something that a lot of like the subclasses then expand upon or give you options to do things with. And it feels like favorite enemy is kind of just tacked on, which I kind of want it to become the core feature of the Ranger, but I want it to have it's like a small impact as the first level feature, and then allow subclasses to kind of augment it in some way, give more utility from that, right?
Right. Right, exactly. And, I mean, first of all, though, I think the thing that needs to be addressed first is favorite enemy needs to be better, right? Whether it's, adding a proficiency bonus or your wisdom modifier, which I kind of like the wisdom modifier anyway, over the proficiency bonus, to the damage rolls. I know the Foe Slayer, and we'll talk about Foe Slayer more later, but like the Foe Slayer ability at 20th level does let you do this, but lets you choose between the attack and the damage roll or the damage roll. I think it just adding to the damage roll right off the bat is significantly better than.
I feel like Foe Slayer is kind of the other bookend of what favorite enemy starts off as, or what you expect favorite enemy to be. And I say, I mean, it's so underpowered at 20th level as a 20th level capstone feature that, to be honest with you, it could just be part of the favorite enemy and it would have the same amount of power level. You know what I mean? Like, effectively at first level.
At 20th level, well, there's no reason to add your wisdom to the hit anyway. You're going to be hitting regardless.
So, it's one of those things where it's such a small number, right? For most characters, the highest you're probably going to get with your wisdom is like a +5, right? And realistically, that's not a huge drastic change to your rolls.
And if you're a ranger, you're probably not going to make it go to +5. You're probably going to get your dex to +5 first.
Yeah.
So,
And it like you said, if it's wisdom, it kind of behooves the player to bump that stat up, which would also then bump up their spell casting,
Right.
and it would kind of be a beneficial thing.
Yeah.
But I think we want some utility of the favored enemy to be in combat, right? Like
Right.
it's part of that feature needs to have some combat utility, and I do think favored enemy. I mean, one of everybody's big gripes, or not big gripes, but concerns with it is that a lot of players, when they hear kind of what the campaign that they're going to be creating this character for is about, they kind of tailor make their ranger to have the right favored enemy. If they're fighting a lot of undead, they're going to choose undead as their favorite enemy, or whatever the case may be. But barring any large amount of the same type of creature occurring over and over and over again, they're probably going to come up across it a few times. Like, Panda, your favorite enemy as a ranger in my game is dragons. We fought maybe 2.
I think only
over the course of the
one,
entire
maybe?
adventure.
One large
I
dragon,
mean,
like one like what the big red dragon, and then there was a point where we had smaller red dragons that we faced as well.
Yeah, there was also a blue dragon as a random encounter.
No, it was a green dragon.
Green dragon? I
Yeah,
apologize.
but still, yeah, we fought a handful of dragons.
Yeah. So, but to Panda's, to his point, I mean, he didn't choose a favorite enemy based off of my campaign.
Right.
Right. He chose one for the character and what the character would know of from their backstory.
Right.
And then it allows him in further levels where you can acquire more favorite enemies, the chance to tailor make that to the campaign.
Right.
Right. Because then you've been engaging with those things.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it's hard because it's kind of the metagame portion of the ranger that you kind of have to try to figure out at first levels if you're gonna try to avoid doing that or not. But yeah, so maybe, like you said, maybe bringing the aspect of Foe Slayer as that plus to damage or to the attack roll into your favorite enemy there. I think that's kind of what we're hoping for.
Yeah, and just to touch on Tasha's real quick, I think this works a lot better than their suggested favored foe thing, which it basically makes something a favorite enemy for an hour or whatever it is, and that just doesn't feel like a ranger, right? That just feels like
it feels like a lesser version of Hunter's Mark,
right? And you can only use it a set number of days or times per day, and it's.
I mean, favorite enemy is supposed to be you have trained specifically to hunt and track one type of creature, right? Mm-hmm. Not any creature under the sun.
Like that feels more like an assassin thing, in my opinion.
Well, it's more overpowered because you're choosing who to have that happen to, right? It's not like, oh, you have to stick with that decision, right? It's, oh, you can choose whoever you want in any combat, right?
Up to your proficiency bonus per day.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that kind of covers our kind of ideas there. Next one would be Natural Explorer. I think this one's going to be pretty easy. I don't have really that many gripes with.
It's an additional thing that you get at first level. So like it's never going to take up a full level. It's fine. It rarely comes up with my character, but that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's the same thing. I mean, it's really just giving you information and helping you forage things. It's a lot of out of combat utility, and it would be great for a campaign where you're doing a lot of survival, but outside of that it's really not that beneficial.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, maybe what could be a part of this at a higher level is to reduce the amount of random encounters rolled, as the regular way that random encounters are decided is you roll a d20 and at a certain number on that D20 you can hit a random encounter, maybe a ranger reduces that range or something. I don't
Yeah,
know.
that would be interesting. Because they would know how to avoid different
Mhm.
enemies in the woods. Yeah, I kind of like that idea. I hadn't even thought about impacting those kind of mechanics.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, I mean, all in all, it's whatever. It is what it is. Every class has that kind of one feature that you're like, all right.
Yeah, it's fun and
It's
flavorful.
something.
Right.
Yeah. Um, Fighting styles, I think we keep.
Yeah, fighting styles
Um,
are fine.
I think maybe you could add maybe a couple of the more expanded ones from either Tasha's or some different ideas of combat for Rangers. I mean, the kind of statement is that if you're a Ranger, you're nuts if you don't use a bow,
Yeah.
right? For a lot of your spells and things, a lot of them are using a bow, but
Right.
having the fighting style to enhance something that isn't your bow that already has enough enhancing it could be beneficial, like giving you some other ways of fighting in combat if you so choose.
Right.
um but yeah.
Yeah,
um
yeah. Speaking of which, there's, I mean, and if you look at the fighting styles that they get right now, there's only one of two
mhm.
ways that you can really effectively build a ranger. That's either, a bow user or dual wield like short swords or something like that, right?
Yeah, I mean, you're really never going to see a ranger take defense. I would be surprised if one took dueling. You know what I mean? Like those are the options, and it feels like they don't even need to be there. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Um,
right. Yeah, I mean, it'd be nice to see a strength based ranger, right? Because like
mm,
Mm-hmm.
they really don't rely on dex for a lot of their abilities, right? But
sure.
since a lot of their spells revolve around, using bows, right? Then you want to have a good dex, and if you have a good dex, then you're gonna usually sacrifice your strength. It would be
Yeah.
nice to see a ranger that uses like a long sword or something like that, right?
Yeah, benefit for strength builds. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, one of the like again going back to kind of the core problem with the ranger is that it really doesn't feel like its own class. It feels like a multi-class of, a couple of different things like fighter and druid and rogue. You know
mm-hmm.
what I mean? And it
Mm-hmm.
it just it feels like it needs it to cut its own uh chunk out of the pie, right? Like its own
Right.
piece out of the pie and figure out what it is. And we have some ways later on that that we're going to get to in this video that I think will give it more of a niche than it currently has.
Mm-hmm.
Spellcasting. I mean, we brought that up. That would be the next thing we're talking about. I'm okay with the rate of spells. Honestly, I don't think
Mm-hmm.
rangers need that many. I think it's kind of similar to paladins, right? You're using them to enhance your attacks more than
Right.
anything else.
Yep.
Um, but I'm not so keen on the uh, amount of spells that are concentration. I mean, maybe that goes with, if they are, using more weaponry than spells, then that's fine because they're really only maybe going to use one at a time.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, how a lot of people want Eldritch Blast as a key feature of the Warlock. I could see somebody vying for a Hunter's Mark being a key feature of the Ranger. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Hunter's
That's not
mark would be
necessarily a spell.
Yeah. Hunter's mark would be much better as a feature of the ranger that you get maybe number of times per day as your wisdom modifier, your proficiency bonus, or whatever.
Yeah, and even if it's not a core feature of the ranger, maybe it's a core feature of the hunter ranger
Yes.
or
Yeah.
something.
Yep.
Um, but either way, I think that can be expanded upon a little bit. But
Do you
for
think
the
it would?
most part, go
Do you think it would still have? You would still require concentration on it?
ahead. I think you could do a lot of like features throughout the player's handbook in different classes have like the whole as if concentrating on a spell
Okay.
aspect of the feature.
Mm-hmm. So like you can only
So
have
you could
one
maybe put
cast
that
at
on there.
once, but you can still cast a spell.
Well, you should only ever be able to have one person as your
Right, right.
hunter's
That's what I
mark,
mean. You can only
right?
use it use one hunter's mark at a time, but it's not
You
using
could
up
use
your
another
concentration.
concentration spell on top of that, is
Sure.
what you're
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah.
I'd be okay with that. I don't think
Yeah.
that would break things too much.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah, I
hunter's
mean-
mark doesn't scale like it doesn't have dice
Yeah.
scaling, right? The only thing that
Sure.
Yeah.
that it scales at higher levels is the duration of the hunter's mark.
Yeah, which realistically, you're never going to need that. You know what I mean?
No.
So, but yeah, again, something that they could look into as far as the spells go. And this is all to say, I mean, we're talking about fixing 5e. Obviously, the playtests are coming out. One of the big things that they're possibly going to be talking about next is classes. So we might see some changes to the core ranger, which would be nice.
Yeah.
But we'll see. All right, moving right along to the next portion of this. We're going to skip over Ranger archetype for now, because we're going to come back to that once we get a little bit further here. Primeval Awareness. I don't like it. I think it's dumb.
Yeah, why don't you like it?
A couple of things. I think this would be another perfect opportunity to have this feature keyed into your favorite enemy. I think you should get to be able to primevally awareness your favorite enemy and only your favorite enemy, right? As part of this. Because outside of that, I don't like the whole within a mile of you, you can determine if any of these creatures are in this, within the vicinity, right? And that it's really not useful. It's like, cool, you told me something's in here. You know what I mean? Is it which one is it? And I don't know. It's not that useful, but as part of like the favorite enemy feature, it could expand upon things. I don't know.
Yeah, it can give you a better, like it just tells you that things are within that radius. It doesn't tell you how deep into that radius. Well, maybe if it's limited to only your favorite enemies, it can tell you like
exactly
within
what
half
type
a
you're
mile.
in. Yeah.
And maybe it tells you direction as distance and direction.
Yeah, I mean, it currently as it sits, it's also a third level feature, which at third level you get access to your archetype. So I kind of like it at that level to give it, because it's not really powerful and you're getting something else that is generally. So I kind of like it where it is. I don't like that it's open to everything, because I feel like it's not really then that useful to somebody. Whereas I could see somebody using that for their favorite enemy, especially if they've kind of tailored their favorite enemies to whatever is prevalent within the campaign.
Right.
Ability score improvements. We kind of talked on that in our Fixing 5e feats video of how ASIs and feats we would like them to work. So take a look at that for that video to see our thoughts on those. But obviously that's still going to continue to be a part of each of the classes. So fair enough. Extra attack, they should definitely get 2 attacks.
Yeah.
I think it would be silly if they didn't. So
yeah,
that
exactly.
can definitely stay. Land stride. Can someone explain to me what the difference between that and the whole thing with your natural explorer is? Because I guess natural explorer is more for like travel pace, where land stride is maybe in combat.
Yeah, and honestly, I feel like you should get this at as part. You get land stride as part of your favorite terrain. Like again, it's the whole.
It needs to tie back to those features.
Yeah, it needs to tie back to those features, and maybe it's just a part of, get rid of it from 8th, move it to, just a part of.
Well, land stride isn't. You don't have to be in your favorite terrain.
Right, and that's our point.
Correct.
Like it should be tied to your favorite terrain, and it should be at a lower level.
I see.
Yeah. Okay. Other outside of that, I mean, I like the idea of giving them, that utility of avoiding difficult terrain. I don't think, at least in my games, and you guys can maybe speak to that differently, I don't feel like difficult terrain comes up that much in mid
No,
combat.
and like this, Landstride is specific to non-magical. Like anytime that there's difficult terrain, most of the time it's gonna be
Well, it does
magical.
give you advantage on saving throws against magical manipulated plants.
Right, but like the actual like moving through difficult terrain, costing no extra
Mhm.
movement, does not apply to magical plants.
Yeah, and it specifically says plants as well. Like, if somebody does uh, the erupting earth spell or
Right.
spike growth or whatever, it does has no impact on that. So that seems kind of dumb. I don't know. I feel like you just give it like a flat. You ignore difficult terrain within your favored terrain, right? And that gets rid of the need for the magical thing because you're not going to worry about that anyway. Aside from maybe extra effects of knocking you prone or restraining you, like the tangled condition, so you should get advantage on those,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which is what this is trying to do. But limiting it only to plants is seemingly an odd choice, but
Yeah,
whatever.
it should be tied to your favorite terrain, um, and maybe moved up
Yeah.
in level, because this is honestly where I think, not to jump too far ahead here, where the 14th level ability Vanish should be instead.
Yeah, I feel like Ford Vanish should be even earlier. To be honest with you, I feel like getting a hide as a bonus action. I mean, it's useful for sure, but even at 8th level, it feels a little late. You
Yeah,
know what I
it
mean
still
in the
feels a
game
little
to be
late, but
getting that.
there's it's hard to find a spot that isn't
Sure.
already filled with something. So moving
Yeah.
it up at least to level 8.
So are we saying bring Land Stride as a higher level portion of Natural Explorer and get rid of Land Stride entirely, and then your 8th level feature would then be Vanish?
Yes.
Okay. I think I'm fine with that. Hide in plain sight. At 10th level, spend a minute and you can get a +10 bonus to your stealth checks.
Yeah.
Um,
Again, it should be tied to your favorite terrain.
yeah, I was just going to say that. It feels like it wants to be and it's not.
Yep.
Or it's a matter of you get, a plus, whatever outside of that, but within your Natural Explorer, favorite terrain, it's double or whatever. You know what I mean? Or
Like
whatever
a
case may be.
+5 when it's not your favorite terrain, +10 if it's your favorite terrain, or something like that.
Do we like maybe instead of giving it a flat +10, do we like tying this to your proficiency bonus?
Like make it like an expertise kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um.
A limited version of expertise, but
So, I like the +10 because it's kind of like giving advantage, but you can still get advantage on top of it.
okay. To be honest with you, and hear me out on this, it feels like Vanish and Hide in Plain Sight
Should go
are
together.
wanting to be the same feature.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like it should be start, at 8th level, you get the ability to hide as a bonus action, and Hide in Plain Sight at 10th, which maybe that could be switched to like 12th or something, or whatever. It would be, whenever you use the Vanish feature, you get advantage on your hide checks, or something while in your favored terrain. I don't know. Something along those lines seems a little bit more in line with other features and other classes.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. Again, for all those that are watching, put down your comments or put your thoughts down in the comments section. Let us know what you think about these things, because we're just kind of putting out our thoughts here as it happens. So you guys might have some more thoughts that might clear some of this up or might help steer us in a better direction. I don't know. So I think that kind of takes care of 10th and also probably 14th level.
Well, are we
but we're
talking
kind of
about?
confined.
Are we talking about any of the Dasha's?
We did talk, or
Option?
which part of the Tasha's thing?
Level 10. The optional rule is Nature's Veil. You
Mhm.
draw on the power of nature to hide yourself from view briefly. As a bonus action, you can magically become invisible, along with any equipment you are wearing or carrying until the start of your next turn. You can use this number of times to your proficiency bonus and regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest.
I'm sorry, was any part of that about your favorite terrain?
No,
Okay.
you just can become invisible briefly.
Yeah, I don't.
Uh,
I
I
don't
don't know
really.
if I like that. I think maybe that is kind of what we're promoting, but in a different way, right?
Yeah.
Because your invisibility would give you advantage on stealth. That's all that would
True.
in-game mechanics do for you, right?
Right.
So I think we're talking the same thing. We're just putting different words to it. I think we put Landstride as part of the favorite terrain. I think we combine or we move Vanish up to 8th level, and then hide in plain sight is an expansion of Vanish that gives. Are we? Do we think a proficiency bonus or a wisdom bonus? Or are we thinking advantage while in your favorite terrain?
I like keeping the +10 as it is.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about keeping the +10 bonus. I feel like that. Well, if for spending a minute, I'm okay with it because a minute is a long time, right?
Right.
And you can't really use that in combat.
Right.
So I'm fine with that. But like in that instance, but I'm just trying to think of is there a way you could rework hide in plain sight to give it combat utility?
I see what you're saying.
You know what I mean? But still have obviously then the utility outside of combat for advancing your hiding. Like, would it be hide in plain sight? Is whenever you use the bonus action to hide or take the whenever you take the hide action, so that could be your bonus action or hide
Mm-hmm.
action or your actual action to hide. Whenever you take the hide action, you can, while in your favorite terrain, you have advantage on stealth checks to hide.
Yeah, I think that works.
I think it simplifies it. I think it brings it in line with kind of the rules of fifth edition with advantage,
Right,
disadvantage.
exactly.
Um, and I think it gives more, expands upon Vanish, which is good. I don't know how I feel about that being like 2 levels after that. Do we want there to be something in between those two things? Or are we okay with it being at 10th level for
I
now and
think
maybe
it's
we'll move
fine at
around?
being at 10th
I
level
think
for
it's okay.
now.
Yeah,
Okay.
agreed. Yep.
Jumping up to 18th
Well,
level.
before we get there, I do want
Oh, yeah.
to at 11th level, that's when fighters get another extra attack. That's
Mhm.
when paladins get their improved divine smite. But here they're getting a conclave feature.
Indeed.
I
Yeah,
don't
which is
like
your
that. I mean,
you don't like that leveling version of things.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean at remember at 6th and 10th you're getting another favorite terrain. And at 6th you're and 14th you're getting another favorite enemy as well. So just keep that in mind while we're talking about the advancement of things because I think that might have gotten lost.
Yeah, well,
Um,
I mean, for me, this is where I'm not saying they get another extra attack, but I think
no,
this
I
is
think that
where. So if you're rolling Hunter, right, this is where you
yeah.
get your special Hunter things. And if you're rolling
Hmm.
Beastmaster, I think you get your Beast gets an extra attack at this level or something. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
which technically you're getting a extra attack kind of thing, depending on your subclass, but it
Sure.
just doesn't feel like I wish that every ranger got the multi-attack options from the hunter, no matter their. Um,
Yeah, I think we're gonna get into that quickly here. I just want to finish up what's left of the
okay.
core, and then we'll get into this because I definitely have a lot to say of what's going on with these subclasses, because I think some, and we're going to get into this, but I think some of this needs to come out and be a core feature of the Ranger. So we'll talk more about that. But just to keep kind of getting through the rest of this core stuff here, feral senses. I have no problem with that. I think maybe it could be earlier. I think that could be the 14th feature to replace Vanish. 14th level feature. Because it just seems like, okay, you get to see hidden invisible people as long as they're within 30 feet of you. It's like, okay, that's it. Right. That's all it does. You know what I mean? Well, sorry, when you attack a creature you can't see, your inability to see doesn't impose disadvantage. And you are also aware of them. So you're effectively negating the ability of the invisible condition, right?
Right.
That somebody would get from invisibility. So I just think that would be fine to move it down to 14th. Yep. Any other thoughts there with that, guys?
Nope.
Okay. And then lastly, Foe Slayer. We already talked about that. It's a terrible capstone, and we need something else to put there.
So and then we also need something at 18th as well.
Yes, correct. So 18th and 20th, I think, are still up for grabs, as well as we might want to pull some stuff out for the Ranger archetypes, and maybe... So there's nothing currently for the Ranger at 9th, 13th, and 17th.
Right.
And that's because that's when you get your next... So, like, so for example, 9th is when you get your first 3rd level spells. 13, you get your first 4th level spell. And 17th, you get your first 5th level spell. So I think that's why they did that.
Yeah, I just think maybe... I think maybe you could put some of these features from the subclasses into those slots, or in addition to maybe one at 18th and 20th, and that might that way we don't have to move too much around. You know what I mean? And then obviously the 11th. Then I think it's fine if the 11th and earlier not entirely sure the breakdown. If those are tied to your subclass, I think it's fine if that's the case then, because then you're getting your feature that might be at 11th at maybe 9th level, right? Or something along those lines. So speaking of that, let's get into the subclasses. Panda, you had a lot of thoughts on the Hunter Ranger because you are playing a Hunter Ranger currently.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I like a lot of the things that you get as the Hunter Ranger. I think they're the most they're the most Ranger of the Ranger, right? Like, to me, at least, a Ranger is a survivalist who is, good at defending themselves and out in the wild, right? And a lot of the features that you get from Hunter feel like Ranger, right? Where like that and Beastmaster, right? Like,
yeah,
like a lot of the other subclasses feel too druidy to me.
Yeah, I feel like so a lot what you kind of see in a lot in the player's handbook is that there is that one subclass that's kind of like, hey, you want to play a barbarian? Here's the most barbarian, right? And they have that subclass, and then they have one that gives you, for a lot of them, one that gives you spell casting or some weird external ability, right? Like Totem Warrior and Eldritch Knight and Arcane Trickster and those types of things that aren't generally, it's a lot of times it feels like it's multi-class light, right?
Right.
So for the Hunter part of that, I just don't want to. I think there should still be a Hunter subclass. So I don't want to depower it entirely, but I think you can maybe cherry pick a couple of these abilities that you get choices of and just take them out of the Hunter's thing. I don't think you need to give people the choice. I think you maybe give them one or two, and the one that feels like the most core could come out and be part of the main features here.
Right. Like, you mean like Horde Breaker, for example?
Yeah, Horde Breaker. Evasion is another one that I think should just be a core Ranger ability, to be honest. I think Volley and whirlwind attack would be a good thing to have in the core class to show that you don't have to be strictly a bow user if you don't want to be,
Right.
whereas it feels like almost all the other subclasses require you to have a bow, you know what I mean, or
Mhm.
aren't really thinking about that necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
I think Horde Breaker is probably the one that I would want to pull out of Hunter the most. I think the next one could maybe be Steel Will, because I feel like there's a lot of abilities in a lot of the other subclasses that give you advantage on certain saving throws,
Mm-hmm.
and I think just having it against the frightened condition makes sense for a hardened woodsman, right?
Yeah.
And that
Right.
could be something you have as one of these features, at
Yep.
like, lower levels or whatever the case may be. So I think we're kind of just cherry picking ones from, like, almost one from each of these uh, features of the hunter subclass and
Right.
bringing them over into the core class, I think, is what we're thinking of.
Yep.
So I agree with you. I think Hordebreaker should be one of them. I think Steel Will. I kind of want to leave the multi-attack version alone.
Yeah.
I want to leave that where it is. And Evasion I want to bring out. Um, Now, for those of you who are listening, you're probably like, "Oh my god, they just ripped out everything out of the Hunter subclass. What are they putting back in?" There's a lot left there, guys, and I think, again, all of these subclasses need some way to tie back to favored enemy, and right
Right.
now, Hunter doesn't have that. Right.
Mhm. I see what you
Um,
mean.
and I feel like I want something in there. And maybe it's not evasion that you pull out. Maybe it's uncanny dodge. Right? Or does uncanny dodge kind of make sense to be? I don't know. You know what I mean? Like it just feels like there's
And
aspects of this.
evasion, you get a like that's not until 15th level. Rogue
Right.
gets evasion
Correct.
at 7th.
Yeah. And they get uncanny. They could also then instead choose to get uncanny dodge. Those two things are basically core rogue abilities
Right.
that
Right.
are at a way to higher level than they need to be.
Right. And they're also
In my
like
mind.
not comparable in level that you get them as a rogue too. Like
Yeah.
you get a Katie Dodge at what, second, third?
No, later than that.
Uh,
Uncanny
can
dodge
I?
is 5th.
Yeah.
Oh, fifth. Okay.
But
Evasion's
but
at
anyway,
7th.
yeah. I mean, there are parts of that. The other one thing that I want to get into this before we start kind of selecting levels and things. Something that I thought of the other day. I really want the Ranger's Companion feature to come out of Beastmaster and be a part of the core Ranger again.
Mm.
And let me explain. I think the Beastmaster to me should work almost inherently like the Moon Circle of the Moon Druid, right? You're expanding upon that core feature to give you more utility in that
Mm,
aspect
mm,
of the
mm, mm.
Ranger, right? So that's where with Beastmaster you should be getting more attacks with them, and those attacks should be off of a bonus action, not your action.
Correct.
So what you're
Ugh.
saying is you should always have your animal
Yes.
companion, but like the druid subclass, most of them don't really enhance your wild shape,
They
unlike
do something
but
else with it. Yeah.
right. Whereas Moon Druid really enhances that,
Right.
wild shape ability. So this would kind of be like the equivalent.
Right.
Beastmaster
Yeah.
should be like the equivalent to that. Okay.
Right. And like we
Yeah.
were saying before, maybe that hunter, and the same thing applies to the hunter. The hunter subclass now deals more with your favorite enemy instead of
Yeah.
just being kind of general.
So I
Yeah.
just
And
I
maybe.
I just thought of a great ability. I don't know where you'd put it. Either you'd put it in the superior hunter's defense or the defensive tactics. But you would get some sort of bonus of your wisdom modifier to your favorite enemy or something like that.
For your AC.
Yes, for your AC.
Against attacks from your favorite enemy. Yeah, that
Correct.
would be.
Yeah.
I don't know where you would put that. I don't know you'd put it in
I
the
like
7th
the
level or
idea.
the 15th level, but
Yeah. I like the idea of having Hunter be focusing on expanding your favorite enemy feature and Beastmaster focusing on expanding your Ranger's Companion feature.
Yep.
And then one of the things you could do as level scaling is hit dice for your beast.
Sure.
And then I think, maybe at a certain level they can go up in one size larger or something like that, right? They only ever get that much larger, but that would be cool. Because I know one of the things that we kind of miss is the dire animals and things like that, and being able to choose those as a higher level ranger as your beast companion.
I want a bear.
And that's really the problem. Is it feels like they took the core ranger and ripped it apart into two subclasses that didn't need to, and therefore the core class of ranger is bereft of anything that made the ranger the ranger.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's how it feels. So I want to try and bring that back, but also keep the idea of these subclasses there, So I like that. I do like, Fox, your idea of giving some defensive ability towards your favorite enemy, because favorite enemy gives you attack, but now this could give you defense towards it or something like that, which would be cool.
Yeah, and I think that's fine at 7th at the defensive tactics, especially for pulling out one of the abilities to give to the base ranger, right? You get the plus wisdom to your AC, and then you get escape the horde or multi-attack defense, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think Hunter's Prey, like that that feature of Hunter, I think Colossus Slayer, giving you more damage on on anything basically, is extremely useful, and I think that's perfect for being in there, because that feels like kind of what favorite enemy and Hunter's Mark are trying to do, right? Give you more damage on each of your hits against specific enemies. Giant Killer is kind of a cool like reaction ability that I don't think the ranger gets a lot of reactions, right? So that would be that I kind of want to keep there. Horde Breaker, I don't know. Giving you to the, I feel like if Horde Breaker comes out, I think I want it to be a higher level feature. Like I think that's, that could be your 9th level ability, or your 11th level if you want to, kind of scale it with extra attack, right?
Yeah. Well, the only problem with pulling it up higher, I mean, is basically the two multi-attack features, Volley and Whirlwind Strike, are basically better versions of Horde Breaker. Because Horde Breaker can be used as melee or with ranged. Basically, Volley is a better version of ranged Horde Breaker. Whirlwind Strike is basically a better version of melee Horde Breaker.
What do we feel about maybe putting it to 7th level?
Horde Breaker?
Yeah.
What else do you get at 7th level?
It would be another natural or the Ranger archetype feature.
So you get an archetype feature and...
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. Thinking about it in that term. Yeah, I don't know. It just seems like I'm trying to find where, if we bring out Horde Breaker, which I don't even necessarily know if we need to.
Yeah, we might not need to.
I think the ones I want to bring out are the ones that seem kind of unnecessary. Like Steel, I think we take out Steel Will, put that somewhere, and then put Fox's feature in the place of Steel Will.
I think Steel Will would be a good 9th level, at least. Because when do you normally get that?
You normally get it at 7th.
I think moving up to 2 more levels isn't that big of a deal.
Yeah, especially because you're all, like you said, you're getting more
You're getting your third
spells
level
at those
spells at
levels.
that point too.
Yeah.
It's not. It is very situational. So it's not like it's good. Don't get me wrong, it's good, but it's not like super strong.
Yeah,
So I
you're
think
not
that would
giving somebody
be
immunity to it. You're just giving them advantage on it.
right. So I think that's fine at 9th level.
Yeah, I think that's why nobody takes Steel Wheel.
Yeah, because it is so situational.
But if you take that out and put your favorite enemy in, that's good. And maybe that could be a component of Horde Breaker as well. Is that each of your turns when you make an attack against your favorite enemy, you can make another attack with the same weapon on somebody within 5 feet. It's limiting the use of Horde Breaker then, but it's bringing it back towards favorite enemy.
Yeah, I mean...
Or do we want to do that to Colossus Slayer?
Yeah, tying Colossus... Well...
Because Colossus Slayer is very powerful. Giving somebody another D8 of damage on top of a D6 from Hunter's Mark, that's a lot. But if you tie that to your favorite enemy of giving yourself a D8...
You're right, because we've also pulled Hunter's Mark out of being a spell and now as a class ability. Yeah,
Right.
I think that works better having Colossus Slayer tied to you.
But is it? Do you think a D8's too powerful for that?
Not if we're tying it to your favorite enemy.
Yeah, I think it's
Okay.
fine.
All right, and are we also going to keep the stipulation that only if it's below its hit point maximum?
Yeah, I mean,
It's fine.
It's most likely going to be under its max hit points anyway, so.
Yeah. My problem is that I want to, if we're going to try to make this more favorite enemy dependent.
Right.
I feel like there's a lot on here that they could just be like, well, I don't care about my favorite enemy and I'm going to choose the other ones because it doesn't apply to, I don't have to worry about it being a favorite enemy thing. Right?
Right.
Like, in this case, if you do the favorite enemy portion to both Colossus Slayer and Horde Breaker, the choice then becomes, do you want to attack again? Or do you want to do more damage? And that's a more interesting choice than it would be, do you want to do more damage to your favorite enemy, or do you want to hit somebody else, independent of if it's your favorite enemy or not? You know what I mean? Because obviously then you would take the latter, because you're probably going to come into contact with that more often.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I'm just trying to think, if we're still going to leave the option up to people, we need to kind of make it clear that this has to still relate to your favorite enemy.
Right, but the other thing is we have to make it so that, if they don't come across their favorite enemy that useless. Much, right. It can't be useless without their favorite enemy.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I want to try and figure out how we're tying Hunter to favorite enemy. And maybe it's a matter of do we make Hunter's Prey a singular option? Like, maybe get rid of Giant Killer and Colossus Slayer and just have it be Horde Breaker.
No, because Horde Breaker is still situational, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're all situational.
We don't need to be... It doesn't need to help them in every situation, I mean, the favorite enemy is situational. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Well, one thing I was thinking for, like, Colossus Slayer, for example, is... you leave it as is, but then if you're using Colossus Slayer against a favorite enemy, it's a higher hit dice. And for Horde Breaker, if your attack, you get your one attack and then you get your second attack, right? What happens if you can make a third attack, but that third attack has to be against your favorite enemy?
It seems a little...
That might be a
little... first one. I like the first one. I think then you change it to a D4 for Colossus Slayer, and then the up is a D6.
Sure. I don't know, I like 6 and 8 more.
I think 6 and 8 works better.
Okay, that's fine. I'm just saying then Colossus Slayer generally would be only a D6. If it's not on your favorite enemy.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I think
then
for
if it
Horde
is-
Breaker, it changes the 5 feet to 10 feet if it's a favored enemy.
Okay, I think that's better. That's probably better.
Giant
Sure.
Killer, I don't really see a way to make
Yeah,
it tie to your...
I mean, to be honest with you, I mean it's a cool reaction ability, but I don't really feel like it fits then with the rest of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm okay. To be honest with you, I'm okay with removing Giant Killer.
Okay.
has anyone I don't know of anyone that's actually used Giant Killer.
Neither do I.
Again, if you're in a game where you're playing against giants, it's awesome.
Well, I mean,
you know
yeah.
what I mean? But yeah. No, I honestly I think it could be next.
Plus, it also is using up your reaction that you most likely want to be using it for something else later.
Yeah. Defensive tactics. There's a lot in there. Obviously, we're pulling out Steel Will. So if we put in, favorite enemy thing with extra AC,
Yep.
I think you could tie all of these to favorite enemy, but I think then the one that you're proposing would be too similar to multi-attack defense. Like if you have Escape the Horde be opportunity attacks from your favorite enemy against you are made with disadvantage because you know how to escape from them easier, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then when your favorite enemy hits you with an attack, you gain a +4 bonus to AC against all subsequent attacks made by that creature for the rest of the turn, right? And maybe it would make sense to get rid of multi-attack defense and turn that into the feature that you're suggesting, Fox, where it's just a flat AC bump, because what if your favorite enemy doesn't have multi-attack?
Correct.
You know what I mean?
But then,
Yeah.
I guess since we've made the base stronger, the
subclass does not need to be that strong. We don't want to make Ranger another monk, right? We don't want it to be overpowered.
Right.
Like we want it to be on par with the other subclasses and other classes.
That's
you
true.
know what I mean?
Because the problem right now is that the base Ranger is weak, and where the only place it gets its strength from is its subclasses.
Right.
Yeah, and we're trying to make the core start that level of strength building earlier, right? Like give you some utility at a lower level. Like where rogues get sneak attack on one attack a turn, Rangers would get it on every attack against their favorite enemy. Not sneak attack, but you know what I mean, the extra damage. Right. So it gives them that similar bump.
Right.
Anyway, so I think you could take out multi-attack defense and just put in Fox's, if you're, AC to, you get a bonus to AC based off of your wisdom modifier to, against your favorite enemy. And then Escape the Horde would be, or you could choose to have all opportunity attacks against you made by the favorite enemy have disadvantage. Right? So it's either you're at disadvantage for opportunity attacks, or you can get a plus to your AC. Where, to be honest with you, the plus to your AC would probably be better, because then it would still cover you under the opportunity attacks.
Right. Yeah. Or at that point, it's kind of moot to even take Escape the Horde. It could literally just be get rid of everything there at 7th level, and you get
defensive tactics is against favorite enemy. You get a plus to your wisdom.
Yep.
Right. You're not making choices. You're just getting one feature.
Yep.
I like that a lot. It's kind of what I wanted to do with Hunter's Prey, to be honest. Like I almost want to just get rid of Colossus Slayer or Horde. Like I want either Horde Breaker or Colossus Slayer to be the one that's there.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I like the fact that you get to choose between the two.
Well, let me ask you this. Would it make sense to have Colossus Slayer be the Hunter's Prey feature, and then Horde Breaker be one of the options for multi-attack?
No, because it's vastly weaker than Volley and Whirlwind Strike.
Okay, but then do you need Horde Breaker?
Yeah, because it's a nice thing to have early on.
Or do we take out Horde Breaker and all that's left is Colossus Slayer in there? Because then we don't have to worry about the favorite enemy dependency of Horde Breaker. Like, take out Horde Breaker, make that a 4th level ability.
Yeah, but you get an ASI and
yeah, but there are definitely classes that get additional things on top of their ASI. So we can definitely do that if that's an option. You know what I mean? Because I feel like
if you get both though, like it seems it's too overpowered. Then it's too strong. Then
yeah, but I don't like. I think the idea of having Horde Breaker be like, okay, now it's 10 feet if it's your favorite enemy. I feel like that's kind of weird. You know what I mean? I don't know. Anyway, we can think more on that. Volley and Whirlwind Attack, I think you'll leave them alone. I think you'll leave them there.
Yeah, well, do we want to discuss pulling those out and making them a part of just the base Ranger, or
and put them where?
At 11th level.
Are you thinking?
Or do you think it only makes sense to be a part of the Hunter? Yeah, never mind. It still only makes sense to be.
I think it makes sense to be part of the Hunter because you got to think about what are each of these subclasses, and the Hunter is like focusing on the attack.
Yes, you're right. Okay, yes, you're right. Okay.
Yeah, so I like keeping them there. Superior Hunter's Defense, I honestly think you take Evasion out and put that at 14th level.
Yeah.
And the rest can be
14th or 13th?
14th. Because 14th, because we remember we got rid of Vanish.
Oh, that's right. 14th. I forgot.
So I want to move that to 14th. Hostile creature misses you with a melee reaction. I think Stand Against the Tide could be tied to your favorite enemy. When your favorite enemy misses you with a melee attack, you can use your reaction to force that creature to repeat the same attack against another creature other than itself of your choice.
Would they? So if Stand Against the Tide is limited only to favorite enemy, would Uncanny Dodge then?
I think Uncanny Dodge could come out as well. Or do you think that that's getting too roguey?
I think that's getting too roguey. But then at the same point, though, like if Stand Against the Tide now has a limitation on when you can use it, does Uncanny Dodge only, like, is it a modified Uncanny Dodge that only applies to your favorite enemy? So now you're guaranteed evasion.
So what's your benefit here? So your benefit is if you choose Uncanny Dodge, you can reduce the damage given to you. Mm-hmm. Or if you take Stand Against the Tide, if someone misses you, you can have them hit somebody else.
Right.
Both of which costing a reaction.
Yeah. I like that. I think Evasion has no...
Yeah. No, I'm fine with Evasion being pulled out to 14th.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, if you tie one of the options you get... Because remember, you pick one of these. You don't get both of them. So do you keep it as a pick between Stand Against the Tide and Uncanny Dodge? Or you get both, but it's only limited to your favorite enemies? Because you can't have one...
making it a choice.
What?
I like making it a choice.
Okay. Because you had mentioned something about Stand Against the Tide only applies to your favorite enemy, which vastly underpowers it against Uncanny Dodge, when Uncanny Dodge does not apply.
I think I'm fine leaving those alone and having those be your 15th level. So what you're saying is make it one feature possibly for Superior Hunter's Defense, where if somebody hits you, you can reduce the damage by half. But if it's your favorite enemy and they miss you with an attack, you can use your reaction to have them do something, something else.
Mm-hmm.
So have it be one feature where you're getting both of those. I mean, it is 15th level.
Well, no, I was saying it's not Uncanny Dodge. It's like Uncanny Dodge, only when your favorite enemy attacks you.
So both of them are favorite enemy dependent. That would make sense. Then yes, I'm fine with them being a singular thing.
Right.
I mean,
then why would you need Stand Against the Tide then at all? Or why would you need Uncanny Dodge? Because you're basically saying, no, you're not dealing any damage to me now.
What do you mean?
So, you're saying combine it together, right?
Mm-hmm.
But both of them are...
No. Stand Against the Tide is when something misses you.
Yeah. It specifically says...
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, you're good. You're good. I honestly think, to be fair, I think you could also leave them separate and have Uncanny Dodge or Stand Against the Tide, whichever one you want to do, as your 18th level feature. Because you stop getting Ranger archetype things at 15.
Right.
So if we're getting rid of well, we're not getting rid of feral senses, right? We're just moving that.
Yeah.
Is that true, or are we getting rid of that?
I think we're moving
because you're already okay. Well, no, because I think we got rid of it because of hide in plain sight becoming more of an advantage. Right. So I think we're getting rid of feral senses, so we can have another feature of the hunter thing be at 18th level, and then we just have to worry about the capstone.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. I'm not opposed to that because I feel like that's still, we're on average you're getting 4 levels in between, like every 4 levels you're getting a ranger archetype feature, but then you could have it be at 18th level instead of 19th you're getting another ranger archetype feature, and we could maybe split Stand Against the Tide and Uncanny Dodge.
Mm-hmm.
Because you could maybe have Superior Hunter's Defense is Uncanny Dodge, and then Stand Against the Tide is your 18th level feature.
Mm-hmm.
Where you can have them redirect attacks.
Yeah.
Because then you're still getting both, it's just not as powerful, to be honest. And it's also not as much of if this, then that for the same feature.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I like that. If you guys are okay with that, I like doing that.
I think that works.
Okay.
And that wraps us up for the hunter archetype.
Yeah, I think Beastmaster, I want to take Ranger's Companion out, and I kind of want to put that at first level as well. If you're getting favorite enemy at first level, you should get your animal companion at first. Because realistically, you're getting favorite enemy, which is giving you a slight bump in damage, and then you're getting natural explorer, which does nothing for you. So, at least at that level. So I think bringing Ranger's Companion out and bringing that to a first level thing would be fine. So that comes out, and then what would we put in place of it at third level? I think at third level, your beast's hit dice also, so when you're calculating hit points, so let's look at the base Ranger's Companion, see if there's anything we want to fix there as we bring that out, and then what could be maybe replaced in third level. So at third level, you gain a Beast Companion. Challenge, the beast is no larger than medium and has a challenge rating of quarter or lower. You add your proficiency bonus to the beast's AC, attack rolls, damage rolls, as well as to any saving throws and skills it is proficient in. Its hit point maximum equals the hit point number in its stat block, or 4 times your ranger level, whichever is higher. Like any creature, it spent hit dice during a short rest to regain hit points. And then on your turn, you can verbally command the beast to where to move. You can use your action to verbally command it to attack, dash, disengage, dodge, or help action. Once you have the extra attack feature, you can make one weapon attack against yourself when you command the beast to take the attack action. If you are incapacitated or absent, the beast acts on its own, focusing. So basically, you're giving up your action to have it attack or do any of its other actions. But when you have an extra attack, you can make also an attack yourself. Is currently how it is. I think you can use your action to command it to do something should be you can use your action, you can use your bonus action to verbally command it to do something. Or actually, let's think about it this way: Wild Shape base druid is an action.
Yeah.
So do we want to keep it as an action for Ranger's Companion, cutting off the whole extra, keeping the extra attack part, keeping this as it is, and then for third level Beastmaster is you can direct
your bonus action.
You can use your bonus action to command it.
Yes.
And so that gets rid of the whole having to give up your attacks to also have it attack.
Right.
Okay, cool. I like that. That's replacing third level, easy. I would also say the hit points should get third level you get bonus action commanding, and whenever calculating hit points for the creature, you can add your wisdom modifier to the die roll.
Yeah.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right? Cool. Okay. 7th level exceptional training. On any of your turns, when your beast companion doesn't attack, you can use a bonus action to command the beast to take the dash. Okay, so this is effectively getting rid of the need for that action.
Yeah.
So do we want to put something else in exceptional training?
Well, why don't we have it so that
it's your bonus action to command them to attack, and that's it.
Yeah, because you still can't, even at exceptional training, you can't have it attack as a bonus action.
Yeah.
Right, but we already got rid of the... So, like...
Well, what happens if we moved exceptional talent to 3rd? And then...
Oh, so I see. So you're bringing the bonus action for those to 3rd.
So the first paragraph goes... the first paragraph goes down to 3rd level, and then you can attack as a bonus action command, as well as the magic. The attacks are now magical at 7th level.
Okay. No, I'm fine. I'm fine with bringing.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
The dash, disengage, dodge, or help action as a bonus action up to 3rd, and then at 7th you give them. It gets the ability. Well, is that still?
No, I like it. I would rather have it the other way. So, and the reason is the help action. If you can, yeah.
Oh.
So I would say at 3rd level you can only attack with it as a bonus action.
I see, because the help action really.
Because the help action
would give you advantage then.
Yes, exactly.
Mm-hmm. So then at 7th level, we're keeping the whole dash disengage thing. 11th level, you get, when you command your beast companion to take the attack action, the beast can make 2 attacks, or it can take the multi-attack action if it has an action. That's fine.
Yep.
I have no problems with that. And then 15th level, beginning of 15th level, when you cast a spell targeting yourself, you can also affect your beast companion with the spell if the beast is within 30 feet of you. Perfect.
I think that's fine.
Yeah, I think the main problem was the whole idea of you can only ever use part of your action to have the beast companion attack when it's like, well, it's its own entity. Like, why should I have to do that? You know?
Right.
If
you summon a monster, it can attack.
But
whenever.
But that is the benefit of being a master beast tamer, right? Like that's the benefit of having the Beastmaster is you get that as a bonus action rather than, a normal ranger still has to give up some of their action that's already, doing a lot of damage to use their beast companion. But their beast companion can be helpful to them outside of combat by, searching for
Also,
things. Or
they're taking. So it says that if you don't command it, it takes the dodge action. So you could at least use it as a meat shield. As
Yeah.
bad as
I
that
mean-
sounds.
Well, let me ask you this. What do we think about upping
I would say that we should also increase the challenge rating.
That is exactly what I was just gonna
Oh,
say.
okay. Great minds
I was
think alike.
like, what do you guys think about upping that? I mean, like,
For
I'm
the
fine.
Beastmaster, you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
I
yes.
mean,
yes.
Are we thinking like challenge rating 1? Because just to put that into your heads of what challenge rating 1 would allow you to do, a lion is challenge rating 1.
Yeah,
As is a
I think
giant
1
spider.
is fine.
Yeah, I think going above that, you start getting out of beasts, and to be honest with you, most beasts can't even get higher than that. I mean,
Right.
there are a couple, but not much, right? And then that could leave it open, to be honest with you, for other subclasses to what they give you is the ability to get a better beast, but it's harder to control.
Well, what if
Right.
what if at 3rd level, they get, let's say 1/2, they get the ability to have a beast of 1/2, and at 11th level, they get, as well as the beast.
So my problem
attack.
is the idea of the beast companion is something that you've been with forever, and changing that out seems kind of weird.
Yeah,
But
you're right.
effectively, if you are giving them more health, the challenge rating will grow.
That's
Right?
true.
Mhm.
That's true.
So I don't know. But I think I'm fine upping the challenge rating to allowing up to a CR1, and then they can
At 3rd
heal,
level, though?
Well, this would be part of the base animal companion, is what we're saying.
I was thinking that this would be part of the.
But again, if you're doing that, though, then the problem is that you're effectively saying, okay, at 3rd level, change out your animal companion that
I
you've
see
made
what
a
you're
bond
saying.
with and bring out something else.
Yeah,
Now,
I don't know.
There is a portion of the based companion feature that talks about changing out beast companions.
Mhm.
Like if the beast dies, you can obtain a new companion by spending 8 hours magically bonding with it. So maybe you could put something in there of like, you can swap out beast companions, and then yes, you could do the whole, challenge rating thing. But if players want to keep their same beast companion, that gets kind of weird. I don't know. They have the option to do it if they want. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just find a CR1 beast companion at 1st level would be a little too strong.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's maybe keep it to about a half. Only ever a half.
Well, yeah, I don't know. That still seems overpowered at 1st level.
Okay, so then so we keep it at quarter.
Yeah.
We keep it at quarter, and then
Yeah, and since we're giving the HP scaling to them, it makes them better later on.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, cool. So I think we've talked about a lot. The one thing we haven't talked about is the capstone.
Yep.
And I think we could go ad nauseum of what we want that capstone to be. So what I think we'll do is, for the capstone, we're going to spend a little bit of time off, outside of this, to kind of think about what we want to do. And we're going to have that as part of the document that we are generating for this video. And that'll be down in the link in the description down below. And you can see our final capstone ability that we are proposing. And that can kind of be like, for something else that you can expand upon. But definitely give us your thoughts on all of this down in the comments, because this has been a lot of stuff. Anything else you guys want to add?
No, I think we covered everything.
Yeah, that's it for now, I think.
All right, guys.
So I think that about wraps up for this video. I'd really appreciate if you smite that like button, subscribe, and sneak attack that notification bell so you will know when our newest videos come out. That just about does it. So join us next time when we slide into DemDMs. Bye, guys.
Bye.